All right, Jeremy. Well, thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel and agreeing to talk about the video and yourself a little bit. But for those out there who don't know you, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I usually have an identity crisis where I flip between thinking of myself as a photographer and a video editor. And now, as of last year, now I think of myself as a retoucher too. It's a big part of what I do in my day job in addition to photography. But I've always been interested in video editing too, and I kind of switched back and forth. So it probably started in 2001, so it was 20 years ago, when you and I met in college through the campus TV station. Learning how to edit at the end of that era where you were doing it, quote, linear, right? Because eventually we ended up having computer editing and non-linear editing where you could drop video clips anywhere you want. But having done it, at least for a short time, where you had to think through your edits one at a time and place the clips that you want in order, it was a different education than people get now.
What took you from all of that to where you're at now?
So when I actually went to school, I decided to study animation, and that's why I chose Edinburgh University, because they have an excellent animation program. After maybe one semester, I realized that I didn't love animation, and I fell in love with the campus TV station. And a lot of that is because of you and Dennis Burke and our ability to, when we were filming the news, to film like a promo for a program or do like a little funny skit and film it at the TV station. And then it wasn't quite live, but it would be on TV the next day. And I could turn on my TV in my dorm room and see what we filmed the night before. So the immediacy is really what shifted me into TV production and out of animation, because you could work on an animation project for weeks and weeks or months. And at the end of the semester, maybe your animation final would only be 30 seconds long. And the feedback that you get, like the gratification from that, is nothing compared to what you could do in television because it was so immediate.
Can you tell our audience about like what really got you into wanting to make films and what you got you excited about that?
If I had to think about really what got me interested in movie making as a kid, it was probably all the VHS tapes that I had where that movie had a behind the scenes documentary on it. So movies like Jurassic Park and Star Wars, there was a documentary about the making of Wallace and Gromit. All those making of documentaries from the earlier mid-90s, it kind of predated DVD featurettes. Those are the videos that really got me interested in being a filmmaker.
I have to say that this is a total inspiration. I understand. I love the behind the scenes, and they're fun to watch, and you learn so much about the actors, about the talent, about the people who are actually making the movie in the process. That's a lot of fun. So when we met in college, we made some films. So one of the things we worked on was in college was a film called There You Were with our friend Nick. Can you tell us about that?
You know, I think what's so great about that film, There You Were, and what we did with Nick Hassinger was that was a time in my life when I had stepped away from college because I felt like I couldn't afford it. And I ended up being out of school for like a year and a half. And working on that film with both of you drove me like back into filmmaking, and that I decided I had to go back to school. I had to take out loans. It didn't matter. I needed to be making art and films. So I give you guys and Nick credit for that. But I was just teasing that during that time, I made what you could call my first short film, and that was Thank You, Murphy, that you and I worked together on. And the only way I was able to do that was because I was able to get a credit card from Best Buy. This was like 2004 or something. And I bought myself a Sony Handycam, which at the time was like about $1,000 camera. That's what we used to make our first short film.
Oh, how the times have changed. I love that. And I think that project with Nick, we learned a lot on our own. Will this camera work? Will that camera work? Will this lighting work? I mean, I know we were kind of going back and forth on equipment, trying to understand and learn it, because YouTube wasn't what it is now. It wasn't even there. We were just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it was so much self-taught. Yeah, yeah, and right, and we learned so much by doing it.
That really speaks to my piece. Like, education is extremely important. Whether you go to school or you do it on your own or you do a combination like we did, I think it's vital to continually pursue it. And you have to because the industry is continually changing. And right now, I mean, we wouldn't have thought we were going to be doing this 20 years, like 20 years ago, or we wouldn't have thought we were going to do this a year ago. Here we
Right,
are
that's what I
chatting
was
with each
thinking.
other.
But this, because of COVID though, it actually brought us all closer together. You, me, Nick, Steve. There were a lot of things working in our favor. I think one of them is what we touched on is just everyone being remote and Zoom being so popular, and it being easier to transfer files nowadays. And we did a lot of file sharing, even though you did ultimately, you sent me a hard drive too.
I think you're right. Like everything fell in our favor because we had a very safe set. We held people back from each other. We wore masks when we were offset. People were respectful, but we were able to have pre-pro calls via things like Zoom, multiple people on it. We were able to kind of even do our, our table read that way. And it just, technology has come to a point where you can have people working in multiple locations.
We were able to cast basically everyone without even meeting them first. We just casted them remotely.
And absolutely. And we were able to work together. While Jeremy's in Pittsburgh, I was here down in Florida, and we were kind of working together.
But we didn't have any crowds. We didn't have any scenes where we had a lot of people together. So we were being really conscious of that, and I think that's a big thing that would really help. Being productive during COVID is having ideas that have minimal interactions.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that kept us safe. It kept us smart. And actually, it's something we can do going forward. I think eventually we will be out of what we are in right now. And we'll be able to work together. And maybe, yes, Jeremy could come down and be part of the set where you were not able to this time. But we could still do all the pre-pro without having to have to come down and do all of those parts. And we could still cast.
Action.
I think that I learned a lot on this project. And I really miss shooting videos. And that's partially why I'm making this video. And I miss working with people. I miss the challenges. I miss the technology and getting in there with everybody and really the collaboration. And that makes me want to do it again. And I think the experience for me was good. Of all the good things that came from it though, what would you say was the biggest challenge?
The pre-production with like the last week and a half leading up to the actual filming, when everything kind of comes together all at once. So you're solidifying locations, you're working with the talent, but you're also shot planning and storyboarding, and you're doing all these wardrobe. We were shopping for props on Amazon, renting wardrobe and having it mailed. Just all these things that the deadlines kind of like coalesce because they have to be ready for filming. I think maybe that was like the biggest challenge. And then also even in that, trying to squeeze in meetings so that things can be planned, because as much as like you or I as like co-producers might plan through things like wardrobe, for example, who's going to wear what props are for what person, communicating that to all the people who need to know was a challenge.
I have to agree with you, and I kind of did that a little bit to myself on the set too, in an effort to keep less people around. But I was wearing a lot of hats, like you were saying, and I was directing, I was producing as well. I was working with the DP, I was working with the actors, but not only that, I was helping manage and corral people behind the scenes. I think it would have been useful to have more people. And it just reminds me of why the bigger productions I've worked on, there have been so many people there.
Yeah.
And it's trying to find that happy medium. And I think we may have thought it was a little too lean, but I think is never, you can't put a price on being safe.
Well, it was good because of COVID to have less than 10 people there.
That really brings me back to like what we used to do in college though.
You might have a director and a camera operator and maybe a boom operator and maybe one or two other friends. So it's in a way it's an extension of that.
It really is. And actually that's, it's the opportunities are really endless out there. So for those people who are really kind of looking to get into this, it's easy. It's all you got to do today. I mean, heck, if I had had a cell phone when Jeremy and I were out there, we would have been making films on the cell phones.
I think my recommendations for anyone who's interested in video production or filmmaking. I think what helped me through everything that I've done in the last 15 years would just be a natural desire to look at my work critically and want to improve. And you got to balance it though, because you want to be able to, as you're finishing a project, not be so crippled by seeing the flaws that you don't end up finishing it or showing it off, but still being able to look at those projects that are done and identify everything that you don't like about it and make a point to do things differently next time. So you could probably go through 15 short films that I've made since 2001, tell you now the things I still see in them that I hate. But that thing that stands out to me that I hated, I didn't do it on the next one. And it's so just you slowly get better and better as long as you are looking at your film critically and you're identifying what you don't like and thinking about how you can make it better next time. Even projection, as light years ahead of the other films that we've made together, we can absolutely look at projection and identify 3 or 5 things that we would improve on the next one. And it's always going to be that way.
That's true. You're always going to keep improving, and to always stay hungry to improve will make you the best that you can be. And Jereme, I really appreciate you joining and actually taking the time to talk to the audience about your experiences and your successes, and how even though you may not like something, it could be, some people could look at it as a quote failure. You look at it, just as you said, as a success because you won't make that mistake again. So don't be afraid to get out there, make some mistakes, have some fun. And if you guys have some great videos, send them down in the link below. I'd love to see them.